Today, I'm going to show you how to install a Balmar alternator on your boat.
Hi, I'm Ron.
And I'm Marie.
10 years ago, we bought a broken down trawler for $4,000.
And nothing worked, not even the kitchen sink.
After a lot of hard work and help from our friends and family, we moved aboard Elixir full time. And now we are cruising this old boat while the work and fun continues.
So subscribe and give us a like and come along with us cruising this old boat.
So I purchased this Balmar 100 amp alternator. Now, this is a 621 series, and that means you can run it unregulated if that's what you want to do. So for instance, if I know in the future I'm going to get lithium batteries, but I don't have them now, so I don't want to pay the extra money for the regulation, I could just install this alternator like I did the old one and just keep on running without external regulation. So that's an option. Some of the considerations you want to look at when you're buying a new alternator is, whether you have a single belt or a dual belt, it's going to make a difference on the pulley. Also, whether you have a 1-inch foot or a 2-inch foot, and how it mounts on the foot. I mean, there's some are double mounts, etc. But this is a single mount. I have a 2-inch foot, so I had to get the extra spacer. We're a single pulley. And 100 amp is the biggest you can go without going to a double pulley and reconfiguring your mounting system. I did not want to go to all that work, so we got the 100 amp, stayed with the single pulley, single belt, and 2-inch mount. So we're going to go ahead and mount this today. One of the things that I like about Balmar, I've never had one of their alternators before. It's our first one, but you can see they have these tags all over the place that tell you what goes on that post. I remember when I installed the last alternator, that was a problem for me, was trying to figure out what wire went to what post, because it didn't look exactly like the last one I had in there. So this tells you what goes on what post. So make sure you keep those tags on the post until you're ready to put the wire on the post. So the first thing we want to do is we want to mount it. You're first going to install the foot. Make sure you have the extender if you're a 2-inch. And we're going to install that on the bracket, the mounting bracket on the engine. Next, you want to install the tensioner arm onto the alternator. And we don't really know where that's going to go yet, so just put it somewhere for the moment. Don't tighten it down, because chances are we may have to move it. Next, you want to put your belt on. And I recommend anytime you change out your alternator, change your belt. Even if your old belt looks good, it's been stretching. So let's just go ahead and put a new one on. Now, once you have your belt on, then you can get a better idea of which hole you should be in to mount the alternator on the tensioner arm. You can see that I'm maxed out here, so I need to move over. Once you have your fan belt on and
your alternator loosely in place, then you want to take some sort of pry bar, stick down between the engine and your alternator, and pry the alternator tight. Once you have your belt tight, go ahead and tighten down the bolt. Once your alternator is tightened, then you want to go ahead and hook up your positive and negative cables. Remember to make sure that your cable is disconnected from the battery before you do this. So your positive cable is going to go right here, and your negative cable goes on this. Now you want to make sure that you have plenty of flexibility in your cables, because the engine is going to vibrate. So as you can see, I've got bends built into the cables just to give them flexibility. The blue wire in here is for the external regulator, so if you're not using the external regulator, you won't use that blue wire. Now, although it's not required, I've chosen to hook up a alternator protection module, APM, on this alternator. This is an expensive alternator, so you don't want to damage it. So this item is well worth the money to protect it. And it's simple to hook up. You merely put the negative cable, or the black wire, on your negative cable, and your positive wire on the positive cable. Pretty simple. One consideration is, though, you do not want to put these underneath your main battery cables. So they're always going to be on top of them. Go ahead and tighten your cables down. Once you have that mounted, you're going to wire wrap it to one of the wires, one of the cables coming in, just to support it so it's not hanging there flopping around. If your tachometer gets a signal from the alternator, then you want to hook your tachometer cable up to the white wire that goes to this plug. Now, rather than cutting the wire, the easier thing to do is to put one of these connectors, a female spade connector that's protected, on your tachometer cable, and then just simply plug it onto the white cable. That will give you your tachometer signal. And the last step is to hook up your excite wire. That's this brown wire. If you're using an external regulator, then you don't hook this up. But if you're using the internal regulator in the alternator, then you need to hook up this excite wire. One of the nice things about this Balmar 621 series is that it does have an internal regulator. Now, I'm going to hook up an external regulator in a little while. If that external regulator fails, then you can fall back on the internal regulator on this alternator, so you can still charge your batteries even without the external regulator. So what I've done to make that simple to switch from one to the other is I just put this little pigtail on with a female connector to go to this ignition switch wire. So all I gotta do is plug it in, and I now have a 12-volt switch source going to the internal regulator to excite it. If I want to switch to an external regulator, then all I need to do is unplug this, and then I plug my 12-volt source to the external regulator. So it's that simple. Just plug, unplug, and you switch from one to the other. Now, this 12-volt source, as I mentioned, needs to be a switched source. So this wire actually runs all the way up to my dashboard, and is connected to the start-stop switch for the engine. So this only has 12 volts on it when the switch is on for the engine to run. And with that, we're done. Your alternator is now hooked up, wired, and ready to run. Thanks for watching.